Hey y'all, so I told you guys I was going to adjust the shifter linkage on Project Gus, and we saw that didn't hold up, so it's obviously tweaked. The Z-bar linkage is a known issue. But while I'm waiting on parts to come in to fix it from Novak, we're going to work on another issue that Gus recently developed. Now, the left front door speaker quit working. I have an aftermarket radio and aftermarket speakers, so I'm not sure if that is the problem is with the wiring for the radio, the speaker itself, or the door wiring. What I mean by the door wiring is Jeep Cherokees are notorious for wires breaking in the door jamb. So first I'm going to pull and inspect the wiring to my speaker. Then I'm going to pull the trim around the radio and wiggle the wires to see if that works. And then I'll check the wire loom in the door. Maybe I should start with the door first. We'll check the speaker and then we'll go from there. I'll be right back. Okay, you guys. I kind of fibbed a little. I was going to start with the speaker, but something told me it wasn't my brand new speaker causing the problem. So here we have the wiring for the door, and I cut the boot off. This is what fits in the doorway. And I know most of you are saying, "Ooh, you spliced it when I was going to leak." My game plan is when I put it back in the vehicle, I'll put it back with the splice facing away from the wheel well, and hopefully that keeps it from leaking. If I have to, I'll get some RTV and just run it over the split. But this is what I discovered. These two wires, let me see if I get my camera zoom in on it, and then there's this wire here. Hard to see, but this wire right here, they're broke. They're part of this piece here. Now this was in the door like this, and this wire goes like this. So this isn't going to be a fix I could do on my lunch break. This is going to be a little more time consuming. Now, yes, I could just butt connect these two together, or splice connect it with a section of wire and then connect it to this wire here. But I'm not a fan of splice connections. They come loose, they wiggle loose. It's just a headache. So the game plan is when I get back to the house, and I'll show you guys this, I'm gonna make my own 2-into-1 like the factory. We're gonna solder it here, heat shrink it, then solder it here and heat shrink it. That's gonna require removing the door panel. I've already got the wiring and speaker out. I kind of jumped on this one, so we'll get that all squared away. I'll show you guys how I do it. Like I said, you guys could butt connect it. Not a huge fan. Alright, you guys. So let me get some light on this. You've got the two green wires out of the door. You've got the green wire that goes into the cab. Now these two splice into a single wire and join this one here. What I'm going to do here is I've got two short pieces of green wire. I'm going to solder them like so. Like this basically. And then I'm going to take this piece and create my 2-into-1 like what was originally in the door. Then I'm going to cut this to length to fit the wire into the truck or into the Jeep. Heat shrink soldering iron. I just use a little Weller. I've had this for probably about 10 years now. It still works. I know I could go to propane or anything else, but butane, whatever you want to call it. I know they're two different gases. Sorry, guys, but I don't want to mess with it. I've just got me some solder. So let me get to soldering and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we have the main solder joint. It's two wires to the one. It's nice and sturdy. Like I said when I was inspecting it, you could butt connect these, but I don't have faith in butt connectors. It just leads to issues down the road. What I'm going to do is let this cool for a second, heat shrink it, and then we'll go from there. Once I get that section heat shrinked, I'm probably going to have to pull the door panel back off so I can access those wires and heat shrink them properly. These guys right here, guys. Sorry, let me get some light on this. we'll probably pull the panel back off and heat shrink them. There's not enough wire showing to where the heat shrink won't get affected by the soldering iron. So we'll start on this. Let me pull the door panel. I had to secure it at work. I couldn't get the door panel all the way off, so we're going to do it here and hope to God I don't melt the window seal or the door seal. You guys make do with what you can when you work on these things. Now, you look at this, see it didn't hold. We'll have to redo this, but you guys got to get a nice twist on it and then solder it. So, let's see if I can get a light on this. This isn't the best soldering job I've ever done, but for the tight space I'm working in, let's see here. You guys can see I've got good connectivity. It's not going anywhere. I might run a little bit more solder over it, and then we'll heat shrink it and call it good. Yeah, you guys can see some issues there. So that might cause some integrity issues. So we have the two connections made. You guys can see I have some heat shrink over them. I'm going to heat shrink these two first, pull the wire tight, and then put some heat shrink over this. And then we'll work on soldering this side up to the door jamb. So I've got I think it's a Harbor Freight special. Don't remember, but I've had this for a few years. So you could do a low or high setting. I like to start off on a low setting and work my way from there and see how it reacts. And if it doesn't work fast enough for you, if you guys can tell, it's doing its job. You guys can turn it up to a higher setting. You guys want faster results. And I'm trying to talk loud and over it so you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, if it doesn't seal to your liking, you can always take a little bit of electrical tape and wrap it on the ends. So let me get a bigger piece of heat shrink for this, and I'll show you guys what I'm doing. So a slight issue, trying to get over the double strands here. So I'll heat shrink what I can. Then this section here we'll wrap with electrical tape, and we'll call it good. I have plans to recover the wiring in the door and put the boot on. And I know you guys saw me split it in half, but as we go along with this, I'll show you guys what I'm doing and explain it all and my thought process behind it. You guys can see I pulled it up as tight as it'll go. So all the soldering is pretty much covered, or all the solder. Like I said, I'll wrap a little bit of electrical tape. We don't need to go crazy here. And then we're going to mock this section up with our other piece here, and we're going to feed the excess back into the door. I got to trim a little bit of this away, this loom cover, and go from there. Alright, so tight spaces call for creative fixes. I couldn't find a way to hold the wire and solder it, so this is where my pliers come in handy. So we're going to try soldering this, and I'll show you guys what happens one way or the other. It kind of looks like I pooped all over the wire. Sorry for the reference, but shaky hands in tight places are not my best friend. But it's tight, it's secure, shouldn't come loose. So we'll slide the heat shrink up and over it. We'll heat shrink it, we'll call it good. So here it is fixed, and I'm going to try to shrink this down just a hair more. If not, we'll tape it. I got some of the factory loom I'm going to put back over it, and then the factory rubber seal. I discovered a problem with the speaker, and I'm going to show you guys that next, and how we're going to fix it before we can test the wiring. My door panel's already loose. So let me fix the speaker, show you guys what I found broke on that as well. Not too happy with the quality of the Polk Audio DB speaker just now. After a year, they're already falling apart. That's no good. So let's go on to that. So before I get back in, since I showed you how I fixed the wires, this is what the Polk Audio DB speaker looks like. You got the capacitors, etc., sitting there. Now, this is the other front speaker, or this is the left front speaker as well. You look, this wire came detached from here. So I'm going to solder this up instead of trying to buy new speakers and hope that works too. I showed you guys how I fixed the door. So I'm going to solder this. And I don't know if I can get a camera angle on this as I solder. So let's see here. Okay, so we're going to try this out. Not exactly the best angle, guys. And I'm sorry if it's not clear. But we're going to attempt to solder this. I told you guys I don't have any fancy equipment or anything to store this. And I apologize for the crinkling. I'm working on getting this fresh solder open up. Alright. Sorry guys, should have been more prepared. So we got our solder, and I've got my Weller soldering iron. I know, I can buy a torch or propane. So we want to make sure we get a good coating on this to secure it. We don't want it coming loose again. For me, there's something therapeutic about wiring. Alright. Now let's see if I can turn this so you guys can see it a little bit better. And that's soldered. The other thing I'm going to have to do is figure out how I can re-secure this so it's not bouncing. Maybe if I'm cautious, I could put a dab of glue on it, or even some RTV to secure it. So we'll call that fixed. I didn't mess with the spade connectors or the spade terminals. That way I can still use the factory wiring, or the Polk Audio wiring, and then the speaker adapters. So that's the second issue fixed. Now we're going to reinstall the speakers. We're going to test for sound. So I showed you guys the door. I showed you guys how I soldered this little capacitor, I assume, or resistor. I'm not exactly sure. I got to figure out a way to secure this back onto the speaker basket, and we're going to try a little bit of hot glue. I don't really want to glue anything to the magnet, but it looks like it was glued there originally. If I'm careful with the glue gun, it won't get too hot. So I'm going to try gluing it down under here, and then a little splotch up there. So we'll position the speaker where we can do some work, and something like that. That's what we're going for. So I've got my glue gun. We're gonna just, you guys can see it's not the prettiest, but we want security here. You're not gonna see it anyways. If I was gonna see it, I'd really worry about it. A few minutes of my time is a hell of a lot better than spending 80 to 90 bucks on another pair of speakers. Sorry guys, I'm watching what I'm doing and not watching the camera. So we'll have a couple stragglers and a couple strings and just yank them off. Might want to wait till it's, ouch, cool. I don't know why I just did that, but that looks pretty secure. I might add a little more. You guys can tell I'm not all that great at doing this one-handed. That should secure it. Hopefully it doesn't affect the sound quality. If not, or if it does, I'm not out anything. These speakers I'm not happy with. They sound good, but after a year they shouldn't be falling apart. So we're going to go reconnect our door wires, mount the speaker, we're going to test it. And yeah, I know this is ugly, guys. Sorry about that. Get this mounted up. You guys can at least tell it's secure. Test the speakers, finish up the door jamb, and go from there. There you guys go, we got sound.
Colorado's Cat Country 95.1.
Playing all the songs you're all about this week. Here we go. Song 1. Dice Revelata.
So as we're putting the door jamb back together, I reused the cloth covering that I cut. Just taped it at the beginning and the end. That way it still offers some protection. I know I split this boot, as you can see. What I'm going to do is put it in backwards like this, so that way the slit is facing away from the wheel well to try to prevent water in it. Alright, y'all. I know that's my favorite saying. It's probably annoying in these videos. Sorry, guys. So what we did was we put this slice facing backwards. I might make a cover for it or something. Probably use a bicycle tube or something to cover it up. But for now, it'll work. We're calling this project done. So I want to thank you guys for watching. God bless. Have a good night, good day, whenever you guys are watching this. This is how I fixed my XJ door wiring issue. Not saying you have to do it this way, but hopefully it gives you some insight.